And I'm doing fine. Well, so I think we'll take 1 or 2 minutes to start. So far, so some still attendees are joining. So in a minute, we'll start.
Sounds good.
Hi,
Hi,
Shah.
Shyam.
How are you guys?
Hello, how are
How
you?
about you?
Good,
I'm
good.
fine. So in agri-tech sector, I mean, you all are having a very leading startups. So we'll discuss because a lot of attendees are there. They would get inspired with your startups, with your story and how things are there. So we'll talk about more during this webinar. I think there's a lot to inspire to the audience who are there in this.
Sounds good. I think the only way to change the world is to inspire. So I hope we do some bit. Looking forward to talking in more details.
Yes, yes.
Nikhil
yes,
is also here. Hi, Nikhil. How are you? We haven't
Hey,
met yet.
Yep. I'm good. How are you?
I am good as well.
Hey, Sameer.
Hi.
Hi.
So it is DeHart. How do you pronounce your name? The name of the company. It is DeHart or DeHart. How do you call it? Shyam?
Shyam, you are on mute, I guess.
Shyam, you are on mute.
Sorry. So it's Dehat simply.
It is DeHart.
Yeah.
Acha. So we are trying to pronounce it either DeHart or DeHart. So it is DeHart.
Yeah.
And or for Bijak, it is Bijak or Bijak. I mean, some people were calling it Bijak or Bijak. So what it is exactly? How do you pronounce it?
So unfortunately, when Gojek was on peak, it was then when we launched. So people started calling it Bijak. But it stands for Bijak. So Bijak is bill used in all the commodity trading, right?
Yes.
They make a handmade bill, so they call it Bijak, and that's what we wanted to get digitized.
Okay. So I think it is 3 p.m. now. So we have lot many people who have already joined this webinar. So we'll formally start this.
Sure.
A warm welcome to all the attendees. A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to our young, energetic and dynamic panelists who are here, who are who are the leading agri-tech companies in India, startups in India. This webinar is being organized by India Juris, which is an international law firm having office in Delhi, Gurgaon, and Mumbai, having advised more than 1,000+ startups. In association with Chamber of Startups, which is apex body for startups. If any startup is having an issue, they can connect with the chamber. There's another in association which we are organizing this webinar is Co-working My Place, and a Shark Venture which provides seed funding to startups. So again, a very warm welcome all of you, and especially to our panelists. Though they are too much busy with their startups, they are in the growth stage, but they have found time to join this webinar and enlighten the audience about their journey and the whole insight into agri-tech, because they have a lot of experience on this. So friends, today in this webinar, in our panel, we have Shyam Sundar. He is Executive Director at DeHart. He is alumni of IIM Ahmedabad and from IIT Kharagpur. DeHart is an online platform that offers agriculture service to farmers and it's already raised a 16 million around. This is the information which we got. So detail, I think we hear from the founders themselves, what they have done, how that's said, but this is a small intro about them. Second panel with us is Shailendra. He is the founder of Fasal, and the Fasal is an AI-powered SaaS platform. They have also raised funding for their startup, and they are on a growth trajectory. So we'll hear more from Shailendra during our webinar.
I would just correct you for a moment. I'm one of the founders. I'm joined by my partner Ananda, who's not here.
Well,
but we
very
are
well.
two founders.
Very well. So we'll hear both of you together. I think it's pleasure for us to hear both of you. Third, we have with us Nikhil. He is co-founder Bijak. So now I pronounce correctly, it's Bijak. He is from NIT Meghalaya. Bijak is an agri-commodity trading platform. We hear more from Nikhil later in this webinar. They have also raised funding for their startup, and their investors have given very good comments to Nikhil, which I was reading online on some media. So with this, in this webinar, friends, we are going to cover topics we are going to discuss with these three panelists, these three startups who have experience of fighting, struggling, impressing the investors, fighting with coping up with the regulatory aspects of the startup in agriculture sector, convincing the investors, and giving them confidence to invest in their companies. So I think with this, we'll be discussing topics related to how the startup ecosystem is there. We would like to hear from the panelists what has been their journey so far, what difficulties they have faced, why in India we do not hear so many agri-tech startups, whether in agriculture sector we would be able to get a unicorn which is globally renowned. What is the future of agri-tech space? And what are the regulatory issues faced by these three startups? So we'll discuss all these things in the webinar. I think this webinar is going to be very interesting. We generally don't find a lot of webinar on agri-tech, but this is our pleasure to organize this webinar on agri-tech and enlighten the audience and ourselves also on this particular sector. So with this, I will first call Shyam Sundar to enlighten our audience about his startup journey and other aspects of the agri-tech startups. Over to Shyam.
Many thanks, Samir. I hope I am audible to everyone. So thanks for inviting us and thanks for giving us this opportunity. Okay, this is actually a very exciting time, I would say, for agri-tech, regardless of the situation. The way that agriculture had become important, it is much more relevant for us to talk about agri, right? Our journey, so you already introduced my education background. So we at DeHaat, we started long back in 2012, 2011, 12. So now we consider ourselves as like early movers of this sector. So last 8, 9 years, we had been working in this sector. How we started is, so some of you might be knowing Shashank and other people, right? So all of us had a similar background, fresh out of engineering colleges and having some exposure to supply chain and family background in agriculture. So all of us had that in common, that there was some family connection in agriculture. So we had the exposure of both ends of it. At the back end, what's the situation with farmers end, that was, and what are the opportunities there, that is there. And also at the market end, having worked with corporates, having worked in supply chain. So that with that idea, we started exploring this field. And initial 2-3 years, we completely stayed on ground basically to figure out what's the best way to move forward, right? And that's how gradually we realized that we have to work with farmers at large. And when I am saying farmers at large, then primarily it means that regardless of whatever land holding they have, right? Regardless of whatever situation they have, we have to work with them. We have to work with them throughout their life cycle. So right from when they plan to sow, when they start their input purchase, then their entire cultivation cycle, and then finally their harvest and post-harvest management. So then we quickly figure out that, okay, this is the way to go towards. If we want to create a lasting impact, a lasting change, then we have to touch base with all the weak links of this value chain. So what we have realized is that agri value chain is long, it's also very wide. And if you really want to create an impact at large, you have to solve, at least try to attempt to solve most of the problems. Otherwise, if you focus on just one problem, farmers may not be able to realize the full benefit of what you are trying to do. That was our hypothesis. That is our current hypothesis even now. So the hypothesis is to increase per acre income for farmers. That had been always in that way, right? And how we do that is basically by providing three major services to farmers. So access to quality inputs like seeds, fertilizers, crop protection, then advisory and technical support to them, and then access to markets, access to transparent markets for them. So this way, and this had been a journey where all these things have evolved over last 7-8 years, I would say. Initially, we started at a really low scale, a really very small scale, very small scale. And gradually now we have been working with around, so currently we are working with around 300,000 farmers by providing them all these three services, right? So what we are then doing is basically, if we select that, okay, this is the district that we have to work. And if we are working with say 40,000, 50,000 farmers in that particular district, our effort is to create that last mile ecosystem, physically and digitally, that last mile ecosystem which farmers can access and get their entire services fulfilled from that single platform. Okay, we may not be doing, but we would be the last mile service provider, last mile delivery provider for all of these services for them, right? So it can go beyond these things. It can go to their financing requirement, their mechanization requirements, but to farmers, they have is trying to become that one single platform. Okay? So primarily that had been a journey. It had been a very exciting journey, I would say. If I look back, I see that, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, agri-tech was really very nascent area, right? There was hardly any interest from investor community. There was hardly any buzz. There were, there aren't many exciting, technology talents, right? And then in the last 7-8 years, these things have really, really changed a lot. Now you see a lot of new exciting technology. The landscape itself has increased a lot. There is a great investor interest in this sector, right? So we found ourselves to be very fortunate that we have decided to be in this sector, and really happy that we are still playing it out. Okay, that's it from my side.
So Shyam, I will ask you a question. Will all of the founders few questions, same questions. शुरू में आप लोगों ने खुद पैसा कैसे लगाया? I mean, एग्री टेक में तो मुझे अभी आज की तारीख में भी बहुत कम इन्वेस्टर दिखते हैं, क्योंकि हम मोस्ट ऑफ द इंडियन इन्वेस्टर्स के साथ काम करते हैं. एग्री टेक में आज भी तो शुरू में आपको कैसे लगा कि ये चल पाएगा या चलेगा, या शुरू में कैसे पैसा लगाया आपने खुद लगाया, बूटस्ट्रैप किया, या इस लेवल तक आने में कितने स्टेजेस आए, किस से आपने किया, कैसे इसको इस स्टेज तक ले गया?
So our story had been Samir, that we had from the beginning itself, two things were our major philosophies. One was to establish a very low cost model. So our model is very low cost. Our centers are low cost centers. We don't need too much of upfront investment, upfront capex investment, right? So it's a very low cost model. And generally we, and when with low cost, we aim to, like, at all our levels, at our franchisee level, at our unit economics level, we aim to reach sustainable mode within like 12 to 18 months kind of scenario. So the upfront requirement had been really low, right? Plus the other the thing was that to focus on having a sustainable business at corporate level from the day one itself, right? So for except for the last year when we raised our first round of funding, every year we had been EBITDA positive. Okay. So we never actually lost money in that regard. Low upfront investment and always having a profitable operation was something that floated us so far. And now with access to capital, now we are investing into where you need a lot of investments, right? So basically creating technologies, or creating some bit of infrastructure or marketing. Those things are something that we have been starting doing now.
So can you tell us a little bit about your last round of funding? Valuation आपका कैसे हुआ? Because valuation agri-tech में या सिर्फ आपकी sales के basis पर है, जैसे normally IT में तो reach of the customer और तमाम parameters होते हैं जिस पे company की value करते हैं. So आपके case में थोड़ा सा अपनी process के बारे में बताएं, because there are a lot of audience who are entrepreneurs in agri-tech who are still trying to find the investors for their startup and struggling to have them. तो क्या चीज वो आपके हिसाब से वो ध्यान में रखें कि वो इन्वेस्टर्स को स्पेशली फॉर एग्रीटेक they can approach them or they should inculcate in their startups?
So, right. So we basically, I mean, in terms of last round, so we raised one round last year in February, and then we raised a next round, Series A round this year, 2-3 months back. And no, so basically, Sequoia is one that had invested in us. Omnivore, FMO, these are some of the players that had invested in us. In terms of why they invested and how, valuation and everything, I would say that, this is a very, this is a sector which is still evolving. Even investors are gradually coming in terms of with how to look at this sector, how to evaluate this sector, right? How to put money on this sector, right? But largely in terms of how they might have evaluated us,
Yeah.
I would say that it would be on two factors, right? One would be that, how many farmers can we reach out to?
Okay.
What would be our farmers base? Because agri is a scale business, right? There are
तो
like
अभी आप कितने फार्मर्स को रीच कर रहे हो एट प्रेजेंट? आपकी क्या रीच है?
300,000 farmers, 3 lakh farmers.
3 lakh farmers. So which area of India, which part of India?
We are in Bihar, UP, Jharkhand and Odisha, 4 states. 4 states, 3 lakh farmers, and we have been growing well. So every year 2x, 3x growth in terms of number of farmers that we have.
So farmers क्या टैक्स है? जितने फार्मर को आप अप्रोच कर, are they tax heavy? Are they using technology or things? Are they using your services or things?
So Samir, basically ours is a physical come digital model. To farmers, what we believe is to give them multiple opportunities to get in touch with us, like creating multiple touch points with them, right? So at farmers, we have of course an Android application for those farmers who are tech savvy. So that is available in Hindi and they can avail all those services. But to all those farmers who do not have that access, right? We have a call center, and every service that we provide that they can avail on the call center, right? So it's a call center run internally, and they call and ask for any support, any product, anything that they require. But in addition to that, what we also have is a franchisee-based model, where at say 3 to 5 kilometer of radius, or 600 to 800 kilometer of 600 to 800 farmers, we have these local micro entrepreneurs, a micro entrepreneur from the same community running our last mile delivery center to farmers. So that becomes our last mile delivery partner to deliver all our products and services to them, right? So through that, and we have currently 600 such delivery partners across these 4 states, everyone like roughly covering 500 to 600 farmers.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
So it's a physical come digital infrastructure.
So did you ever have any regulatory or legal formality, problems while coming up to this stage? Because regarding investments and any other, what you can do in agriculture, because when investment comes, it may have come from outside India. So did you ever had any regulatory hurdle in respect of any operation or investment or anything?
Agri is a subject where government is very interested in, right? And I don't think there is anyone. So basically, everyone, whatever we will do, we will cross path with government, right?
Okay.
They are present everywhere in this sector. Okay. So of course, there is a lot of opportunities and challenges both in terms of when we talk about regulatory things, right? There are different policies, well-intentioned policies. Some of them might benefit us, some of them do not benefit us. Some of them might be able to reach farmers in an intended way. Some of them are not getting there. If I talk specifically about us, so of course we have to spend a lot of time like getting n number of licenses which is required in this sector. So that there are APMC requirements, where nothing can move if there is you don't have APMC for each and every center, for each and every product, right? Then there are licensing requirements related to agri inputs for all our detail points separately that you have to take. So there is a lot of there are a lot of challenges regarding that. When you go to bank, Then banks have their priority sector lending requirements. So you somehow get into that, um, or where banks are in two minds whether they should loan it or not, whether that will fall into priority sector requirements or not, right? So financing is one another thing, right? In terms of like, so of course, agri is a sector where government is very interested in, from where money is coming in. So investors, when they put in, they it generally take some little bit of more time with that. So these things are part and parcel of what we do in agri. And I would say that, I can now see that, in the 7-8 years, governments have become a lot more open, right? So if I see that in the last 1 or 2 years, many state governments as well as central governments had various forums where agri-tech startups, they, at least put forth their plan. And maybe very, very soon we will have a point where agri-tech startups will have more say into what how governments are devising, drafting their policies, or maybe government will have a separate policy for agri-tech startups. So things are definitely moving in a better direction than it was before. But yeah, regulatory challenges are there.
Okay. So Shyam, we will take question and answer in the end of the session because a lot of questions have come on the screen for you. So we'll take it up before we go to the next panelist. I will ask one question. जैसे आपको फंडिंग अभी पिछले 1-2 साल में मिली है और आपको 8-10 साल हो गए इसमें, तो कभी आपके दिमाग में शुरू के सालों में ऐसा आया कि यार कहाँ फंस गए, गलत हमने डिसीजन ले लिया, एग्री में आके कंप्यूटर का करते, आईटी करते, कुछ और बिलियन ट्रिलियन के कंपनी बन गए होते अभी तक. So did you ever had such kind of thought in your initial years or somewhere down the line till today's journey, till date?
So, I mean, see, we always got validation, good validation.
Okay, घर वाले बोलते हो क्या यार आप IIT और IIM से करके आए हो और कहाँ फंसे हो खेतों में और ये और तुम्हारे साथ कितने लोग peers इधर चले गए उधर चले गए. Did you have ever that kind of scene with you?
Not exactly. I mean, it's like a regular thing, right? It's like a regular job that we do. But the thing is that we always got good validation from everyone, right?
Okay.
So funding is just another landmark or another, not landmark, another event. But other than funding, whoever we interacted with, whoever had seen our business, our operations actually, right? So we always like to bring people to our operational area and show them our center, show them our operation, let them speak to our farmers and everyone. And they all got very impressed with that, right? So I think throughout this period, we always got very nice validation from everyone around, I think. And that had helped us in like, remain motivated in this journey, right? And yeah, that's there.
Okay. Thank you, Shyam. I think you have given a wonderful insight about your journey and your things, what you have seen so far today. And we'll discuss more with the questions in the end of the session. So we'll move on, friends, with the next panelist, which is from Fasal, Shalind. And Shalind, you are most welcome. Let us hear you about your startup, your journey, and your views on it.
Thank you, Sameer, for keeping this conversation. Thank you for inviting Fasal. In certain ways, our story is very similar to what Shyam mentioned about Dehat. 2009, 10, 11, I'm very sure would have been a very difficult time for starting an agri-tech venture. Agri-tech per se would not have been as common as we hear it today. We started around 2017. And our approach or the way we landed into this domain was very different. Before this, we both me and my partner, we were on jobs, and we both come from farming families as well. So out of curiosity, or you could say out of interest to do something, we took a farm close by to the place where we were living. And the idea was that we would... I belong to Varanasi.
Varanasi, okay.
I belong to Varanasi and my partner belongs to Azamgarh. That's about 200 kilometers from here.
So Varanasi is now exporting mangoes to US. So we saw news yesterday. So Varanasi is on a different trajectory now.
Varanasi, in fact, exports a lot of things, silk, sari. There is a lot that is going on in Varanasi at this point in time. At this particular moment as well, I am in Varanasi.
Okay.
But we were in Bangalore. And just out of curiosity, or you could say as a weekend exercise, we wanted to grow something small and then figure out what to do with it. So we took up a farm and started growing ourselves. And then we realized that it wasn't an easy job. It's a complex, interaction of multiple ecosystems, your soil, your climate, the cultivar that you have chosen, the technology that you are using, the markets that is interacting with the commodity that you are producing. And for the first time, it did not go very well. We hired some consultants and we decided that we'll take some expert opinion on growing. And then we realized that there is a bigger, how would I say, there is a bigger problem. Agriculture in itself it's like a science. Growing plants is a science, which is not done in scientific way. So you will have some outcome, and that's what you see in the country as well. That's why we have so many things to improve in terms of our growing practices, in terms of how we plan for a crop, in terms of the pesticide we use, in terms of the irrigation water we use, and so on and so forth. So your farm is a hot spot of sometimes making some unoptimized decisions. And this was our realization as well. And then that's what brought us into this domain. There was a problem that we saw, and we saw the scale of that problem, that if you have about 150, 200 million hectares of land where you are making decisions continuously, and if those decisions are not right, you will find the entire structure going through some issues. Because we started growing capsicum, colored capsicum, we found our interest in fruits and vegetables. That's how we landed up in horticulture technology per se. So the idea was, could I grow properly, taking the decisions that I need to take on the farm in the way that should be. So for example, if I start from, let's say, South Delhi, and I have to go to Gurgaon, I open my app, I open Google Map, and I see how much time it is going to take and which taxi should I, call for, whether I should go for Ola because they can send a taxi sooner, or Uber. If I am taking so many decisions and I am utilizing so many tools in making that decision to optimize my time, why isn't it happening in agriculture? That was the question that we had. And then we realized the consequence of not making the best possible decision in that domain. So for example, your cost of cultivation is high. What that means is, if your cost of cultivation is high, that means there is a bigger amount of money at risk that you have left on market forces. So if you're growing chili for 10 rupees, 6 rupees, 7 rupees per kg, and if market gives you only 4, then there is a problem. So a good question to ask was whether you could grow chili at 3 rupees per kg or not. And how would you do that? The second practice that we found, which did not make a lot of logical sense to us, was disease or pest management. Our farmers their livelihood depends on these farms, and they ensure that they are doing their best in terms of getting a crop at the end. And that requires disease management, and sometimes we overspray. Sometimes we may not be taking the best possible decisions in regards to our food safety as well. What is the quality, or what is the safety of the apple that I'm eating, or what is the safety index of the grape that I'm consuming? Then water. Water is free, so let's use it to the maximum. And then you see 70% of our fresh water being used in agriculture. Is that 70% being used because it is needed, or it is being used because it's free? That's a very relevant question to ask. And then when you add all of this, when you when you take the wrong cab and it takes you on the wrong path, you spend more time reaching that place. That's the same with agriculture. If you are putting in a lot of cost and the market fails, and your produce is not to the quantity that you may have expected, that's where the chain of troubles start. And then, as Shyam was mentioning, agriculture is a complex value chain, and it's a large value chain. And Fasal, as a company, we decided that this is the problem that is worth solving. How can we make our farms sustainable? How can we make our farms sustainable ecologically as well as financially? how can we ensure that our farmer is actually putting the amount of money that is needed vis-a-vis that he thinks is needed? These were some of the questions that were at the genesis of why Fasal started. We started validating. We came to this domain with a problem to solve. That was our motivation. And the idea was that if fruits and vegetables, we talk about fruits and vegetables where our focus is, it's about 26 million hectares of land at this point in time in the country. If we could solve some of these problems, we will be dealing with a large mass of fruit and vegetable growers, and we'll be ensuring that there is safe produce on the plate of the consumer, and the farmer gets what he deserves vis-a-vis getting into the complexity of growing per se. So Fasal is a tech play. We are a tech company which is trying to build, and this is what we define, this is what we talk about Fasal, that we are a farm level, crop specific and crop stage specific actionable intelligence platform available to the farmer on the medium that he is available. So it could be a smartphone, it could be a feature phone, and in the language that he understands. The idea is when he wakes up in the morning, he knows these are the 5 things that I need to do on my plot X or plot Y, and it will ensure that at the end of this season, I'm going to get a produce. This could be a decision about your irrigation. This could be a decision about your fertigation. This could be a decision about pesticide. This could be a decision about disease management. This could be a decision about adverse climatic condition per se. That's what we do as a company. And as Shyam was saying, our motivation was the problem, and what kept us going was the validation that we got. We started by working with farmers. We went to one of the markets that we started very early in terms of operation, Chhattisgarh. We started working with some progressive farmers there. We told them about the solution. We told them what it could achieve for them. We worked with them for multiple seasons, and they realized and we realized that there is a lot of value in what we were trying to do. We saw that our farmers were saving lakhs of liters of water per season. We saw that there was direct impact in the cost of cultivation. The cost of cultivation would go down by 20-25% at a bare minimum. They were putting less pesticides. They were putting less fungicides on their plants, their fruits and vegetables, and they were producing more. And this in turn started a domino effect. Now, even if the chili is being sold at 8 rupees and the cost of cultivation is 5, the farmer is making a profit. Not the kind of profit that he would want to make, but a loss in one, not feeling for that loss to his pocket. Solution that we have developed is a mix of collecting farm level data. We collect a lot of farm level data regarding macroclimatic conditions, microclimatic conditions, crop.
I think his connection is lost. Or I think we can take Shailendra when he joins back, or we can wait 2-3 seconds or few seconds just so he gets his connection back. So I think he has lost his connection, and we'll take him. So we'll start with Nikhil. When he joins back, we will again listen further Shailendra. So friends, now till Shailendra comes back, we will hear from Nikhil about his journey, about startup, what challenges they have faced, what Nikhil finds, how he has impressed the investors, and what you should keep in mind when you are approaching to investors. So Nikhil, we'd like you. Over to Nikhil.
Sure. Thanks, Amir. I mean, it's a great initiative that you have started a webinar that to in agri-tech space. I wasn't expecting anyone else apart from before discussing it. But unfortunately, now there are many agripreneurs.
In this webinar, we had more than 300 registrations, and we have a huge
Okay.
number of people here. And across all sectors, people are lot of consultants, lot of students, lot of entrepreneurs who are setting up their agri-tech. There are academic from there are people from Pantnagar. For agriculture in India, Pantnagar is the major place. So there are many people from all over India who have joined this webinar at the moment.
And I mean, it was really, really inspiring. I hearing Shyam and hearing the Fasal story as well, right? So I mean, I can actually believe like what Shyam must have went through in 2012, as I was in my class 12th in 2012, completing my class 12. So at that point of time, if someone is thinking of starting an agri-tech venture, it would be nothing less than riding a street full of thorns. Yep. So we are a 5 co-founder team at Beechup. So Beechup is a B2B trading platform for all the bulk buyers and suppliers. And we deal in close to 100 different commodities present across more than 550 odd locations in 22 different states of India. So when we started Beechup in 2019, it was January when all 5 of us, we decided that we want to do something in this space. We found it challenging. 3 of us, we were having a past agri experience in one form or the other. Like my other co-founder Daya was running his own agri-tech venture at that point of time. And me and Nukul, we were part of another agri-tech company trying to figure out something over there. I think Shailendra is back.
One second. Hi, Shailendra. We have because of you, we have lost your connection. So Nikhil is. So we will continue with you after Nikhil. Hello, Shailendra. Are you able to hear us? I think your voice is mute. Shailendra, we will hear you after Nikhil because your camera, we started with Nikhil. So we will take you, we will continue with you after Nikhil has finished. Yeah, Nikhil, you can continue, please.
Sure. So we started Beechup in 2019. It was January when we decided that we want to do something space. And since 3 of us had a prior agri experience, so we understood the value chain well. We understood what there are multiple problems, of course, like a single value chain, which accounts for more than 60% of India's GDP, more than 60% of population working for it. So it must be something very tremendously enormous, right? But there were multiple challenges, as Shyam mentioned, right? And even Shailendra as well. So we thought of figuring out what could be the best possible way where we can come up with a technology backed solution which is scalable and scalable enough that we can quickly scale across India to solve most of the problems, right? So all of if you take consider the value chain, it's like $200 billion value chain, and out of which 80% flows through these agri traders, right? So 80% of volume goes through agri traders, and these agri traders are spread across India, right? So potato being grown in Agra is usually exported outside India, as well as it travels to various places from Hyderabad to Kanyakumari to Guwahati in the northeast, and of course till Punjab and Delhi in central India. So we thought of like coming up with a platform where we can bridge their gap. So entire value chain runs on credit. Supplier sends their truck on credit to buyer, and they usually receive their payment after 15 or 20 days roughly. This is in fruit and vegetable. Of course, the payment cycle gets further delayed in terms when it comes to grains and other staples. So we thought of coming up with a solution where all of these agri traders, without fearing of their credit risk problem or other problems, can easily trade with other traders across India. So we decided to launch Beechup, but we were not very sure what could be the best way to execute it, right? So for initial 4 months, from January till April, I guess, all 5 of us, it was just 5-member team. There was no employees, only 5 of us, all co-founders. So we decided that we will individually stay in various remote parts of India, and then we try to learn all the nitty-gritties that what actually the problem is, contrary to what the problem is being portrayed in various journals or write-ups, right? So most of the time, these middlemen are termed as evil of the value chain, taking the maximum margins, and the farmer is not able to realize profit because of them. But the actual story was a bit different. So we were a bit antithesis to what the usual thesis was in agritech, and we did not wanted to become another company which is doing the same thing what other startups are solving, right? So we wanted to solve a problem which no one is solving, so that we can come up with something like which is actually great and which is need of the hour. So we spent nearly 4 months in observing all of their problem, coming up with a tech product which was easier to use. It was earlier only in Hindi, now it's in various vernacular language. It was pretty simple to use, so a person who was like looking for the first time a smartphone. So most of these traders whom we visited, right, they did not have their own cell phone. So they used to take their children's cell phone or someone else's cell phone, like a manager of cold store or something, and they would try to see that what actually the app is. And we were pretty shocked to see that most of the time they would guess the actual right thing what we wanted them that they should have done, right? So a person like us, who is well educated and has seen multiple apps in life, it's easier for us to intuit what actually a app should work upon and how actually we should use it, right? But think of a person who is using a smartphone for the first time, that too only for your app, right? The responsibility increases exponentially, right? And it's like you are selling a product to a person who has heard of that product for the first time, right? So a decade earlier in 2010 or 2000, nobody would have heard that this entire agri value chain could work on a tech-based platform, right? Because there are multiple things which are not under control. There are quality issues, there are sizes issues, there are quality size and multiple other things. So we developed this product in close to 4 months, and then we went market live in May 2019. We started from a small village in Kannauj, Uttar Pradesh. It was a potato growing belt. So we started with potato as a commodity from Kannauj. And then it was in October 2019 when we raised our first round. It was from Sequoia Search, Omi there and Omnivore. It was a $2.5 million round. And we raised
निखिल,
our
तो
Series A last.
जब आपने पहला राउंड रेस किया तब आप किस लेवल पे थे? तब आपकी जो स्टार्टअप थी कितने फार्मर को रीच करती थी, या तब क्या था आपका टर्नओवर था, पॉजिटिव थे, नेगेटिव थे? उस समय क्या था जब आप बता रहे हो, जो पहला राउंड जो आपने पहली बार लिया पैसा?
So we raised our first round in less than 3 months of getting market live, right? So we were just a 3-month-old company when we raised our first round. So the ground presence was in close to 50 different locations. There were close to 100 traders. We were taking into account the customer, only the active customers, right? So the app was having multiple installs, but that would be another vanity metric to calculate. So our the active user base was close to 100, and we were dealing in potato and onion as a commodity, onion from Maharashtra, Nashik, and potato from Kannauj. Roughly we were able to do close to 10-20 transaction in a day. But of course, like the thesis was pretty strong at that point of time, and most of the time, right? So what when you are raising your first round, right, and that to a young company, right, when you haven't proved much, so it's mostly because the vision of the founders which matters a lot, right? What actually want to do, and the customer feedback plays a strong role, right? So that's much similar to your recommendation when you go for an MBA, right? So
आप सिकोया तक पहुंचे कैसे? नॉर्मली लोग सिकोया तक पहुंचने में लोगों को बड़ा टाइम लग जाता है, आप 3 महीने में सिकोया तक पहुंच गए, क्यों? व्हाट वाज द वे? किसने आपको बताया कि सिकोया के पास चले जाओ?
Yeah, so most of the time, I mean, these fundings are not, it's not one-way job, right? So most of the time you meet investors, and there are multiple other things which needs to be aligned, right? It's not only about capital and shares getting exchanged, but you are actually selling your idea and vision to someone, right? So you want the investors or the other stakeholders on the cap table to be aligned with your vision, right? So we have seen multiple cases where investors and founders were not aligned, and later on they have to part away on a sorrow note, right? So we were very adamant in terms of choosing the investors, and we wanted them to align with our vision first, and then come up to other discussions like cap table and other things. So we first met, I think, Shailendra from Shikoya. So it was from introduction from our other investor, Mark, and then things started.
So means other co-investors give lot of introductions for any company or any startup to reach to an ultimate investor or something like that. They can prove to be a very good reference.
Certainly, certainly. So what we, I mean, most of the time what we discuss, we are not 5 co-founder, we are like close to 10 co-founder, 5 of us, and then other 5 investors who continuously keep acting as a co-founder in terms of hiring, finding other investors, in terms of helping us get a better product market fit, in terms of tech requirements and other things, right? So they are always there. That's what I said, like it's not just capital getting exchange, but it's exchange of idea, vision and everything, right? So they become
आज
part
क्या
of
status है?
it.
आपकी startup का आज क्या status? What is the reach as of now? As we are speaking, what is the reach? What is the status of it?
So now we have more than 5,000 traders trading actively over platform, present across 550 locations in more than 100 commodities. And we have impacted lives of more than 1 million farmers indirectly.
तो farmer मतलब trade कर रहे हैं properly. I mean, they know how to deal with your platform or trade on your platform, or they trade it या उनको कोई guide कर रहा है. You only क्या है मतलब उनको कैसे पता चलता है कि आपके platform पे आके ऐसे करना है और all those things.
So Samir, I mean, as I said, right, it has been almost 13 months since April when we launched, right, May. So most of the time it wasn't easy to reach all of these 22 states in 550 locations on feet, right? So most of the time they would install app on their own. They would try to do something, whatever is intuitive to them. And then there is a option to call and get in touch with the customer experience team, where they can tell their problem or challenges they are facing, or then they would simply request that I want to use app, I have so and so commodity, how should I use it? So recently, a very interesting story came last month during the lockdown itself from Vashi. There was a farmer who was trying to sell his crop, banana. Jalgaon ka farmer tha. He was trying to sell banana and he was getting 2.5 rupees per kg over there. And that too, nobody was willing to take because there was an excess of supply with extremely less demand in because entire Jalgaon is a banana belt, right? So then he got in touch with us by getting a reference from another trader, and he explained his problem that I have so and so much quantity of banana I want to sell. This is my problem. I'm getting 2.5 rupees per kg. Can you help me in getting a better price? This was his problem. We helped him in liquidate entire crop within 3 days, and the price what he got was 7.5 rupees per kg, right?
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
so for people like us, 4 rupees, 5 rupees per kg won't matter at that lot. But think when these transactions are getting done at tons level, right? 20 ton, 30 ton. And that too for a farmer who would, I mean, devote his entire 1 year to grow these crops, right? So it matters a lot for them. And it's pretty simple, right? Because this is something which is going to increase his business, right? So forget about using an app. He would even do a PhD for it. Farmers are very laborious, right? They would do anything to get even a penny extra for their crop.
Yes. Okay. अच्छा एक before we complete with Shailendra, लेकिन एक और बताएं, एग्रीकल्चर का तो टैक्स सबको पता है, बट व्हाट इज द टैक्सेशन ऑन एग्रीटेक? इट इज अ नॉर्मल कंपनी. व्हाट इज द टैक्सेशन ऑन योर कंपनी? इट्स अ नॉर्मल कंपनी tax, or you are having some relaxations on tax part?
So Samir, in terms of taxes, right, we are only a B2B platform enabling trades. So much alike other segments, we do have that tax obligation. But like all of these traders and farmers, right, they have recently got a big relief from government and as well in terms of like removing all the mandi taxes in UP. And allowing farmers to sell to anyone in MP, UP, and Chhattisgarh, right? So there were major reforms recently, and what I have seen in past 2-3 years, of course, farmers don't need to pay any tax. All of these traders do pay tax, and it's like normal business, right? The only problem is, unlike other business, things are not very certain over here. You might fetch a profit or loss, and there are multiple things which are not under your control, right? So climatic calamity, right? It's not under control. So situation like COVID, which is not under your control, right? Although it has impacted all the businesses, but agri was impacted most because things are perishable. It's going to things are going to get perished within 2 or 3 days, especially potato, onion, and all these green leafy vegetables, right? So there are a couple of challenges, and since there is risk involved, there is ample of opportunity coming, and that's why we see like so many agri-tech startups coming, right, from past 1 or 2 years. Things were not same when I believe like Shyam and other folks have started in 2012. There were very limited number of agri-tech startup, and agri-tech wasn't something people wanted to do. It was considered untouchable at that point of time.
Okay. Okay. So we will deal with more questions. So first we'll finish with Shalin, and then we'll have a last 5-10 minutes. We'll have the questions popping up. We'll go one by one with Shalin, and you and Nikhil. So let's hear Shalin, and then we complete our Q&A session. Now, Shalin,
apologies for the patchy internet, Samir.
Yeah.
Something happened, so
Yeah.
apologies for that. It continues from where I left. I think that was the entire idea why we wanted to build Fasal. And over a period of time, we got validation from not one, two, but many farmers across climatic conditions, across geographies. And the results were similar. Every time we would see the cost of cultivation going down, every time we would see the profitability increasing. And thus, Fasal is essentially a tech play. It's a tech company which enables farmers to grow in an optimized way, enhancing their profitability at large. We are active in 4 states at this point in time. We are working with farmers in Chhattisgarh. We are working with farmers in MP, Karnataka, and Maharashtra. We are largely a horticulture company. We focus on fruits and vegetables. We pick one crop, we understand the entire cycle, we build our algorithms and so on and so forth. So we are crop specific. At this point in time, we would be serving about 8 to 10,000 hectares of land between these geographies. We had raised multiple rounds. I think your question, one of the questions that you had was when you started, what did you put in? When we started, it was largely for our own curiosity, to be very honest. We started, or we were building a product like this for our own self. So when we understood that there was some potential, we started doing it more seriously. In the beginning, we went to some of our friends. We told them that we're going to do something exciting. We don't know whether it will work or not. It may fail, but if you have some faith on it, you could put money. They gave us money from an investment company called Zeroth. They are based out of Hong Kong. We raised about 1.5, 2 crores from there. And then recently about 12 crores from Omnivore. And that's about us in general. We are a team of about 30 people right now. We are expanding in terms of our product. We are expanding in terms of the markets we want to cater. We're expanding in terms of the crops that we are doing. And agriculture is a very deep domain. All 200 million hectares that you have, the farmers aren't the same. The farmers don't look same. The farmers don't behave same. Horticulture has largely been progressive. That is why out of 26, 27 million hectares of land that you have under horticulture, we produce equivalent tonnage as compared to the rest 170 million hectares of field crops. Technology has been adopted quickly, drip irrigation, tractors, and so on and so forth. Farmers put money if you show value to them. So our experience has largely been positive. Our experience has largely been encouraging, and we do see making very relevant impact on this ecosystem in the next 5 to 7 years.
So आपका जो startup है, तो आप लोग farmers को information और advice करते हो या आप उनके साथ काम भी करते हो? कैसे मतलब आपके लोग क्या-क्या farmers को और service करते हैं?
So it's like a platform where the deep-based enablement is growing properly. उसके अलावा, if they want some help in terms of selling their produce, we connect them to buyers. So for example, we talk about food traceability a lot. We talk about food traceability in the sense whether the food that you've grown is safe to consume or not. And then food traceability goes deeper than putting RFID, chips on the crates where you are putting them. It's a lot more about security and safety of that food, the amount of residue, chemical residue you have. So the farmers that grow from using Fasal typically use resources in a more optimized manner, and the quality is typically better. So buyers do provide them some more money. We've been experimenting with a lot of things, trying to understand how we can help our farmers more. We've been working on very farm specific insurance products. We've been working on optimization of the kind of input that they put in the first place. So we understand that telling the farmer the precise advisory is an enablement for the entire sector. It could help the farmer sell to somebody like Dehat in a better way. It could enable them to cut down their cost. It could help them put very specific, disease or pest management products in their produce. So we look at Fasal as an enabler to multiple things on the farm. It's like in the entire value chain, what is that one area, if you make it right, it could bring that domino effect. It could bring that effect into that entire ecosystem. So if the farmer is spending lesser money while growing, his capital, less of his capital is at risk. If less of his capital is at risk, even if the market forces are not rewarding enough due to any reason, he has better outcome, better revenue realization. He is using better products. The food that the consumer is taking on his plate is more safe. So we look at Fasal as a bigger enablement for the larger ecosystem, if I would put it this way.
So, आपका जो last round funding हुआ, what was the valuation of your company in last
So
funding?
you know, I agree with Shyam here. Valuation is something which is very, how do I put it? It's rather, perceptive in nature.
Yeah.
Valuation or unicorn or some of these terms I don't buy in.
But just for the curiosity of the people who are attending, they are very curious to know what valuations these startups have reached.
So I'll tell you, if people are looking to know about valuation, they should start looking at startups from a point of view of value creation. Valuation is, today you are $1 billion and tomorrow, it wouldn't make any sense. But I think people should start looking at what kind of impact, these companies are actually making, what kind of products we are building. And is that product ending, really helping the end consumer? Is that product really making a change? Is that process really impacting the life of the customer? So from valuation point of view, even another question that we had was about, unicorn and so on and so forth. I don't buy that in the first place. But between the three of our companies, Bijak and Dehat and Fasal combined, we have raised 200 crores together in last 6 months.
Yeah.
We have raised it because our investors believe that whatever we are doing has value to the larger ecosystem. It impacts the life of the farmer in a positive way. And if these products can be scaled up, they will impact the entire ecosystem. That's why we've raised funds. Valuation and discussions like these should change to the value creation. I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. So, friends, now we will have a question answer session. So we'll go very quickly because we are short of time. We'll run quickly because I have got a lot of 30-40 questions, but I will take few of them just so that some of them I have asked in between as well. So there is one question for Shyam, which says that, can you explain the micro entrepreneurs? How does this system work? I think Shyam mentioned micro entrepreneurs. There's a question for Shyam. Can you explain the micro entrepreneurs?
Sure. So in our system, we work on a micro entrepreneur model. These are basically franchisee. So I will tell you their background. Okay. These are typically people who are from the community and they have some kind of background in agriculture. Okay. So they could either be small time agri input retailers or output aggregators at say village scale, or someone who has been working in community on agriculture related activities, extension activities, right? or even those could be people who are very active socially and they want to engage with local community, and that's why they come to us. So what we do when we go into a new area, we canvass that area. We go to say local panchayat, local agricultural offices, government offices, and talk about our offerings, our model, and invite all those young individuals to come to our fold, right? So these are typically young individuals, 25 to 45 years of age group maybe. And we bring them together, 15, 20 of them. We train them and we evaluate them. There is a due diligence process about them. And then we contract them, onboard them, train them, provide them physical and digital tools through which they can offer our products and services. Each of these micro entrepreneurs typically serves around 600 to 800 farmers in an area of 3 to 5 kilometer radius. What they do is they provide all these three things that we do. So basically these are the last mile distribution centers, you could say. So they distribute agri inputs to farmers, seeds, fertilizers, crop production. They mobilize farmers for say on-ground training, on-field training, resolving their technical queries, questions, right? Capacity building of farmers. They also aggregate farmers' produce, and then we take that produce from those micro entrepreneurs. Okay, it's a micro entrepreneurship driven model. That micro entrepreneur remains from the community, has a very good, very as I earlier told, very low cost model. They recover whatever cost they put in within like 12 to 15 months, and they earn decent income throughout the year. One thing that they get very attached to our model is that because it's an end-to-end model, we do both input and output. So they get some kind of income generation opportunities throughout the year. Right? That's it.
Okay. So I think there is a question for Nikhil, which says, Nikhil, how you there's a question. Do you see eNAM as a competition to your business? This is for Nikhil. Well, there's something eNAM.
ENAM, yep. So
Yeah.
ENAM was a great initiative from government and has been working fine for a couple of fundings, I guess. I think we are a complementary to ENAM rather than directly competing with them. As Shyam and Shailendra have mentioned, right? So at most of point of time in agri-tech space, right? You keep crossing to the government policies and government officials, right? So you cannot work in silos. There cannot be multiple people driving it because agri is a very sensitive space, right? Government is also interested, and with a population of 135 CR country, right? So it becomes extremely big. So I think we could be a very good complement to ENAM and help government in building a robust agri value chain across India and help them in leveraging all of these decades of like experience these traders have built in like trading all the commodities across India, right? So we could be a very good complement to them, and we don't see them as a competitor. Neither do they see, because like we have been in touch with a couple of ENAM officials, and they have really helped us a lot in multiple ways, right? Like getting us access of a couple of mandis, as well as helping us with a couple of data.
So I think in our audience we have some people who would like to invest or who are investor. So there is a question from investor point of view. As an investor, we would like to know what is the ROI on the investments, assuming there are over 1 million supply points, and now you lovely agri-tech companies trying to bring in technology. So they are trying to basically understand what is the ROI for the investors they can expect if the investments are being made in agri-tech sector and agri-tech companies like you all three are like you companies. What's your view on that? They're just trying to have a view what ROI they can expect on such investments.
So Samir, what I feel like the biggest ROI what an investor could get from like investing in any of the agri-tech startup would be like an opportunity to bring a massive impact in lives of all of these marginalized people, right? So the joy which you bring on a farmer face by just bringing a difference of 5 rupees per packet couldn't be compared to millions of dollars you would be burning somewhere else. So I think it's more of like a reformal change you would be seeing compared to the monetary benefits, right? So again, in terms of ROI and other things, it could vary from company to company, within a segment as well, within agri-tech as well. Different startups would give you different ROI, and there could be multiple challenges. But I think in the end, be it any of any of the company in agri-tech space, in one way or the other, they would be solving either of the problem of farmers, and you can actually feel that happiness. So when you go and talk to a farmer who's using any of these agri-tech products, right? So when I go and personally talk to a local trader, local supplier from Kannauj or from Agra, that now since you have started using Bijak, how has it changed your life? You can immediately see that answer कि आपकी वजह से मेरा धंधा बढ़ रहा है, right? So now you have become a bread supplier for someone's family.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, there are some vague figures or some indicative, because when investors ultimately the social impact is one side of it, but commercials have to be in place only because commercial is equally important as the social impact. So just a vague idea what a person would think
Sameer,
of.
So I think
I mean, it's not your statement, just a vague idea for people to just have. I mean, for IT and other AI and other, we know investors have 10x, 5x, 6x, 10x. That's a different story. So when investors are in this sector, I mean, it's just vague. I mean, it's not for your investors, but it's a general.
So I think although the segment as a whole has comparatively delivered lesser exits compared to others in past, but I think now is the right time for agri-tech. It wasn't a decade back. It won't be a decade after as well. This is a perfect time to do an investment or start any of the agri-tech venture. For us, Bijak's valuation, I think in last October, if I compare to this April, it has increased more than 7x. So an investment of 1 rupee could have fetched 7 rupee now. But I
think that's a fair idea to people who are there in the audience, just to make an idea. So there's another one question for Shyam.
Sameer, I would like to add to Nikhil here.
Yeah, yes, please.
So have a look at what kind of returns can agri-tech produce for our investors. And we have to look at it from a financial point of view, because investors are also business folks. They have made certain promises to their investors and are enabling our ecosystem. In India, agri-tech's time is right now. It is because of multiple reasons. You have 400 million people who have smartphones. The tech infrastructure is there. Thanks to WhatsApp, everybody knows what an app is. And then, in fact, we were having a question about whether farmers can use an app or not. If you look at it more deeply, almost a significant chunk of the population uses Facebook or WhatsApp and products like this. So people know what digital interaction is. People know what UI is. People know how to navigate between apps. From a return perspective, I think if we look at what the Climate Corp yielded back or Blue Ocean yielded back, these were billion-dollar acquisitions. And then there is another perspective to look at it. If you look at e-commerce was an industry which created itself from scratch. The idea that I'll go online and I'll not touch and feel the product, but I'll just read some reviews from random people I don't know, and the seller, I don't know what kind of experience I'm going to have. These companies, I mean, Flipkart is a phenomenal example of how value creation could be. These businesses were created by creating an industry. But agri-tech, in essence, is solving some sort of inefficiency problems. We exist because there is a problem. Bijak exists because there is a digitization problem. And there are many people dependent on this sector. Now that agri-tech investments have started to pour in the next 5 to 7 years, you will see some really big exits, some really big mergers and acquisitions. Agri-tech probably will be bigger than e-commerce ever was or ever would be. That's sort of my take on, what could an investment in ag tech fetch.
Yes, yes. There is a question for D Hart that somebody has seen the advertisement for regional sales manager cattle feed. So they're asking whether do you manufacture this thing?
No, we do not manufacture it. We sell it through our platform.
Okay.
Like other input products, so they are also they are also purchased by farmers, and we are looking for someone who can help us on a regional basis. Yeah.
एक में किसी ने और क्वेश्चन पूछा है addressed to you because you have been the longest among these in this span. You have been have a more struggle and more journey till this place. एक पूछ रहे हैं कि if anyone want to start a new startup, from where he should start and how? This is a very general question, but for agriculture they want to know.
Yeah, I think this is something what Shailendra was speaking about just now. So agri is a vast field, right? It's a complex field, and the best way to do about this is to actually experience that from the field. So like all of us had this similar kind of a story, right? So we spent some time and try to feel what is our calling, right? In this whole value chain, in this, everything, right from production to technology to everything, post harvest, everything, right? What is there where I can add some values? I think two factors that one has to determine. One is that where they can feel that there is a challenge, right? Not everyone can feel there is a challenge and there is an opportunity. I think two, from their own skill set, where one can see that they can add something, they can add some value addition, they can bring some value addition to the table. If you figure that out, then it's just a matter of then proper execution, finding right mentors, and going to do a lot.
Okay, good. This is a question for, I think we'll the one or two questions and we'll end up the session because we are already going over time. I think it has been very interesting. So this is for BJEC. What is the scope of NPA? Is there an NPA which is, do you have NPAs in your transactions or how it works?
So,
for Nikhil.
Yep. So most of the time the platform acts like there is a seller and there is a buyer over platform. We try to create rating of all these buyers spread across different mandis of India, and then based on the commodity and the locality of the supply, right? So the potato of Kannauj won't be sent to same mandi, similar to potato of Agra, right? So it a lot depends on the geography as well. Based on the supplier locations, we suggest him a list of our own BJEC's verified buyer whom they can trade upon, and then BJEC takes guarantee of all of these buyers. So till date, I mean, fortunately, we haven't faced that. But well, yeah, I mean, a lot depends on like your rating algorithm, right? So BJEC as a platform doesn't recommend the entire mandi traders as our verified buyer, but there are very limited number of traders spread across different mandis. So we usually consider top 2, top 3 traders of each of these mandis of India, and that is the reason we got a presence across 550 locations.
Yes. So I think we'll take this question as the last question. It's a general one to all the panelists here. Have you ever had any interaction or interference with politics or political people? Because agriculture is directly related to the country. Whatever happens in agriculture, it affects the whole country. So maybe by Nikhil or Shyam or anybody, whether you had any interactive or any kind of interaction with or interference. Political interference.
Yes, Amit. So I mean, not on a negative end. I mean, but I have a couple of stories.
It may be positive. It may be can be positive also.
Like we were finding it tough to launch in one of the geography, and people were not easily trusting us, right? So being a new company, people won't trust you that easily, and they would have multiple reference getting checked, right? So I mean, at same point of time, one of our team member he got facilitated in one of the events from one of the existing big political name, and we saw the difference overnight that post this ceremony, right? Suddenly everyone became interested to use the product, and there was no ref check involved, right? So all of these political figures, right, they act as ambassador in their own local region, And if they start supporting you, your job comparatively becomes easier in terms of like getting trust of the farmers, because they are comparatively less educated. They don't have same access to technology and news as other people in metros would be having. So they are comparatively cut off from the mainstream. There could be multiple ways to build a trust, but this could be a very good way that if you take support from the local politicians as well as political active members, right? So your job becomes easier, and they also do support all of these initiatives, right? Because they do understand that it would, in the end, it would help in development of their own regions as well.
Good, good. I think with this we are in the end of our this webinar. Is a wonderful webinar. I think I have received a lot of requests. People are asking your email IDs and asking the contact details of the people. We'll share, if with your permission we can, because they want to get more insight, more information and guidance from you. So I think we can share, if you, with your permission, we can share your email ID. Whoever is asking, they want to reach you to ask or take some further guidance in this particular thing.
Sure.
So yeah, so I think thank you once again. I thank all of you, my young, energetic, again I would say young, energetic and dynamic agriculture entrepreneurs. And with this, we are at the end of our webinar. Thank you all of you, and we hope that in future we'll have many other agri-tech, and it will support India in very potential manner. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.